2 weeks back we had a gluteal abscess patient. We had another gluteal abscess patient. So right now the 8th semester are very busy with the gluteal abscess patient. They are writing lots and lots. And I hope that all of you are reading their logs which the 8th semester are writing. If not, that we will like to send it to you all. We have already told them to send it to the training teams. I think we have not shared those patients who you have started treating. That is your batch. Previous one, you are also not aware of that patient. 23-year-old man is having gluteal abscess. The 8th semester is working on that patient right now. So they have already written the log. But some of the PGs are seeing some of their logs, 8th semester logs, which they should have given for you to go through and correct. Yeah, I think we will send it to all the PGs and interns. I think we will send it to the logbook group, the PG logbook group, to go through their logs and correct them, evaluate them, put some questions into them, put it directly to the logbook. Okay, so we move to Dr. Satish. So will somebody like to summarize what he said? Dr. Zain, thank you. Dr. Zain will summarize.
The problem is that the patient is having complaints of bilateral iliac pain from past 1 year, which doesn't have any diurnal variation, but is gradually progressing and causing limitation of the iliac. He also complains
How old is he? 55.
He also has complaints of bilateral swelling of both the lower limbs from last 2 months. He also has swelling in the gluteal region.
Inflammatory swelling with some pus point. Left gluteal region.
With a discharging sinus plaque.
Swelling is recent.
Yes, sir.
How many weeks?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Any associated fever and things any associated fever things? Low rate temperature.
Swelling of the limbs. Gluteal region. Do we have any images? Do we have any images when we come to the examination?
So gluteal is a gluteal abscess, injection abscess. That was the first or this swelling is first? For that they have taken a treatment in the form of injection and they are obviously good job. For that also on and off injections. For that also on and off injections.
Yes, sir. She was taking this 1 year.
Diabetes, hypertension.
So on and off injection the gluteal region. That is where the thing has started. So there is some history of injection trauma to that area where some of the problems are.
So he tried to break, but he was unable to do it, but he the tail of it. So some snacks here and there was but he was unsuccessful. So he suggested to go to ISP.
So any more history or shall we go to exam? Exam. Who is showing up? Yeah, you can just talk. So next slide. Oh. Lastly, somebody has put some bullets in with this utility. Also,
And then this lower one and
this one.
upper right.
And those, gauze pieces
Yeah,
have been
both.
here. we have added to the ghastly number by putting some ghastly number. And the left lowermost is also our voice. It's our surgeon's gift. So, but before this we don't have anything. We only have that photograph. This one. We only have that photograph before all this surgical work. Another picture.
So study more in the upper limb than the lower limb. More in the thigh region than the lower limb. This lower part.
Yeah, above me.
And
Everything above me.
but history-wise doesn't look like a superficial implantitis. Usually that will present with the very acute fever, chills and rigor.
Yeah, no, lymphangitis like more of an abscess.
Deep-seated abscess.
The medial region. This image is after
Whether that all upper thigh region which is related to the gluteal things will be. Or it is a different one.
Is it in the same plane?
Whether the gluteal abscess has made a track in the thigh like that, it is,
And normally,
or a diffuse cellulitis, whichever is true.
normally if there's something there in the gluteal area, will it normally go down to that much, or will there be a partial plane which will restrict it? What is the normal anatomical plane through which the pus can travel? How much can it travel? So little bit of gluteal region anatomy needs to be.
Usually inflammatory legs will be many of the time, majority will be start with the superficial implantitis. So instead of the pain, first the presentations will be fever and chills and rigor. Many of the time they ignore these swellings. So it is something a deep-seated abscess, both in the thigh and
Yeah, very strange that it is, there is not much of fever and changes rigor without, in spite of so much of pus. So probably if it's very deep-seated or it's something like a cold abscess, where there is not much inflammation, but a lot of pus there. Yes, 10 to 15 mm of pus came out, but looks more like a cold abscess, yeah.
Before drainage only
And there's so much of pus, this patient is not having fever and all those features, so more like a cold abscess like thing is what maybe we are dealing with. That will be one of the points here. So our entire focus is on the abscess and the pus. So anything more we have seen in the image and examination. What else in examination? Other than the wound and the pus, what else? What more can you show us? General examination finding or local findings, examination findings. What other system have we seen? Other than the cutaneous system, what else have you examined? Musculoskeletal system? Is that important here? I mean, did the patient complain of any musculoskeletal problem? Or neurological problems? Cardiovascular? Knee joint pain. So we have to focus on the knee joint. How is the knee joint? Which knee joint? Both knee joints. Show us the knee joint. Give me the image of the knee joint. Whichever system the patient complaining of, we have to show us the image of that. That's the basic dictum. So we don't have any proper image of the knee joint here. So knee joint apparently looks normal. Okay. So you could have taken two pictures of the same knee joint. So that everything is normal. Apparently normal. And the movements and everything is normal. No restriction of movement, nothing. So although it is complaining of knee joint pain, it's more like an arthralgia rather than arthritis. That's what it is. So maybe it was a referred pain from the thigh going to the knee joint. So what nerve supplies the knee joint and also supplies the thigh, where the thigh inflammatory pain can get referred to the knee.
pain is in bilateral
other knee has pus only on one side. So it's a bilateral arthralgia of the knee joint, and knee joint apparently looks normal. Or could it be a non-inflammatory knee joint involvement like osteoarthritis? Apparently they will look normal without much damage. But sometimes yes, osteoarthritis of the knee will also visibly look very disturbed, with a large swelling and everything. Nothing of that sort. So other than the abscess, what else have you discovered in this case on examination? Nothing else in the images? So yes, palate. Anything else? Okay. So any questions at this point of time from the interns and the PGs? What is your summary? What do you think about this case? 55-year-old man with some arthralgia in the knee and finally having an abscess in the gluteal region, which has been drained. And what is he doing in medicine? I mean, the surgeons could have managed it. Okay. Four plus. What about the urine report? So we're dealing with the renal failure here. That's the reason the patient is in medicine. So how would you approach? So when you have a renal failure patient, what is the first thing you see? The urine report. What is the urine report like? Do we have any urine report here? 1 plus albumin, 4 to 5 pus cells, nothing else. 1 plus albumin doesn't really mean much. So what is the protein creatinine ratio? Not done. Okay, so we have to see how much of protein it is really significant or not. So we'll have to send that. So in the presence of a normal urine report and azotemia and this abscess, what do you think about the cause of this renal failure? And a non-oliguria cause. There's no oliguria. Unlike the patient which who presented, Zen presented, who had gone into oliguria, acute renal failure. There the creatinine was also similar. But here there is no oliguria. Urine out was normal. So how would you approach this patient? What more would you do for him? What is the next step? This is going to tell us what is the next step in this patient. 5 minutes over?
Already started.
You have to stop it and then start again. Completely stop. Either it's a renal or a pre-renal or post-renal. So yeah, that's a good start. Whenever you have a problem in an organ, you say either it's before that organ is involved or that organ. You say either it's before that organ is involved or that organ is only causing the problem, or beyond that organ. So tell us then what are the possibilities? Why will you think of pre-renal? What could be the pre-renal possibility here? Pre-renal means that the kidney is deprived of any volume. So the kidney will not pass urine, one, and the urea will go up. But here the kidney is passing good volume. Doesn't appear to be pre-renal here. Renal, so maybe the tubules are affected, reabsorption is affected, and actually has good volume. You can even have polyuria. But at the same time, the urea creatinine is not being filtered properly. Not filtered out, so the creatinine is rising in the blood. Yes, so sepsis causing ATN. Sepsis can cause acute tubular necrosis, which can also cause a non-oliguric failure. So the urine will be coming out because the water is not getting reabsorbed. So you will have good volume of urine, but at the same time the creatinine may not be getting filtered. So the creatinine is going to increase, urea is going to increase. So that is one possibility. But again, this sepsis doesn't appear to be, the patient doesn't appear to be very toxic. Only the gluteal abscess. So does this happen like this? I mean, has it been reported earlier that you have a cold abscess and you go into a septic ATN kind of a picture? This seems to be odd. What else? What about post-renal? How do you detect post-renal? Yeah, NSAID abuse can also maybe cause a non-oliguric kind of a renal failure. Yes. So NSAID is one important thing. And for 1 year he was on NSAID. The RMP would have been giving a generous dose of NSAID. That can also raise creatinine. Yes, I think that's in our setting is very easy to find out, or at least have a good cause of renal failure, and that is NSAID. People are making so liberal use of it. That is a very easy cause to pinpoint on. Yes, I think NSAID is the number one contender here. What else? So, if it is a NSAID nephropathy, what are you going to do next for this patient? Patient is admitted in medicine, what are you going to do? What are you doing with the patient? What about his hemogram? Do you have the hemogram report? Hemogram. 8.6 hemoglobin, what else? 32,000. That's high. Okay, so we don't have a picture of that. So if you had a picture of that, you would be seeing leukocytosis. So you should take a picture. The intern should not just collect this report, which has no value. You have to take the picture of the slides. So you know what is 32,000. What does it look like? Okay, what else? Peripheral smear. So why does he have anemia? I mean, how will the peripheral smear help you? What? You haven't kept Subia? Report of this hemogram. Yeah, what is the mobile report tell us? Thousand, okay then. What was the peripheral smear? What antibiotics? Vancomycin, okay. Metrozil. Can you explain the choice of your antibiotics? Why vancomycin and ceftriaxone?
Because the patient had said that he had skin infection.
So why ceftriaxone also along with vancomycin? If the skin infection you're thinking of staph, then maybe okay vancomycin. If you're thinking of MRSA, methicillin resistant staph aureus, vancomycin would be used. But then why give ceftriaxone? Why give metrozil? Anaerobic coverage, okay. Why ceftriaxone? It may be other gram negative also. So you wanted a broader spectrum cover and you wanted to cover MRSA. So you gave vancomycin plus ceftriaxone and metrozil. So as simple as that. Now, what next? So what about the pus? What did it grow then? Did it grow MRSA?
We have sent the cultures.
When? Yeah, when did you send? Patient came yesterday. You sent it yesterday. You sent it yesterday morning. Good. So some intern should have gone and taken the picture of the culture dish where it's growing. Otherwise, how will you know how the things are cultured and how the bacteria is grown and what bacteria it is? How will you know? So you should send your intern to get some images of that. In the past, interns have done it. You go to microbiology and take images of the culture dish, see how it grows. So many things are happening in this hospital, and you have all been trained to, you have studied microbiology. So why shouldn't you go and see what is happening there? You mean to say internship doesn't include microbiology? Microbiology is medicine. Pathology is medicine. So you have to go. You should not send them on these reports collecting this thing. They should go and see how things are being done. That image is important for you. What will you learn by looking at a report? MRSA? Nothing. You should see how it has been grown, how painstakingly it has been grown. That can be captured in image. So yesterday you sent, by now you would have had some images of something growing in the morning. Maybe. Okay, good. So we are looking for the microbiological cause of this abscess now. Yeah, what anaerobic can cause global abscess?
Generally, Clostridium alone.
Yeah, if it is a Clostridium, Welshi, will it be? I mean, were you thinking of Clostridium? What?
GIT for
Yes, I mean how common is anaerobe to cause gluteal abscess and what anaerobes are isolated. So here is an interesting PG thesis where this PG is only focused on gluteal abscess, and each and every time a gluteal abscess comes he goes and collects the pus, and maybe that PG is a microbiology PG, whatever, or a surgery PG, or even an intern PG who is collecting the pus and is trying to see what is the commonest organism that you isolate in this hospital in gluteal abscess patients. I'm sure if you go, this intern goes to the microbiology, they'll find a register in the last 10 years, they'll find there have been thousands of gluteal abscesses. And what are the organisms out of those thousands? And how many were anaerobes, how many were gram positives, how many were gram negatives? That intern can find it. So that is the second part of the microbiology department visit. What has been the past 10 years experience in this hospital with gluteal abscesses? For that matter, any other abscess anywhere. You can do that. See, then only you get to learn about it. Otherwise, it's nothing. Isn't it? Okay, what else? Yeah, good question.
Next day we again look at honestly parameters will come down.
Okay, good. How much? Very good. You mean to say your fluids did the trick? Your fluids are making the creatinine come down. Antibiotics are also making the creatinine come down. Yeah, this is a very interesting thing. I mean, why is this creatinine coming down after coming here? Like it was 4.6 the first day, and the next day creatinine is coming down. He's making a recovery. So what did we do to make him recover? Make his kidneys recover? Yeah, so we brought down the bacterial load. We took out the pus cells, and maybe along with that we took out the bacteria or whatever molecules were signaling causing further ATN. But we are a bit hazy on this part. How bringing down taking out the pus, giving antibiotics helps in the kidney function to recover. Can you explain that? So these are the questions which would have normally come to your mind when you made the presentation to yourself before presenting it here. And then you would have searched for the literature and found out. Now you have to wait till evening for you to go through the literature and share it with us.
Sir, admissions in the patient are very serious.
Yeah, they presented that the patient was apparently very normal. He didn't have any features of sepsis, no toxicity. No other feature of toxicity. Yeah. But then the leukocytosis 32,000 he came with. Then what happened to the count? With the creatinine and 22 it came. 16,000. Yeah, so we get a good recovery. So just what did we do here? Only thing we did was we took out the pus and we gave some antibiotics. So just these two acts of intervention brought down the WBC count, brought down the creatinine, and it seems like the system is recovering. So antibiotics are important, drainage is important. But in what way? I mean, what is happening at a microscopic level? I am telling grossly that this is what we did. But what is happening at a microscopic level? When we took out all that, what happened at a microscopic level to bring down or improve the kidney function? What happened to improve the WBC count at a systemic level? What is happening at a microscopic level? Yeah, you want to say something. Something is happening. Okay. Okay, so other than, how does septic ATN happen? So one is it causes tubular necrosis, the other is reduced perfusion to the kidney can happen, as you are saying. And then, if you decrease the septic load, then but perfusion, I mean to say there was a reduced renal perfusion, which was accounting for the 4.2. In which case, whenever we talk about pre-renal, so we are talking about pre-renal. When you say reduced perfusion, it is all pre-renal. All pre-renal is reduced perfusion. See, any pre-renal thing, now it's all because of hypovolemia and reduced perfusion. If it is pre-renal, what are the other parameters which suggest it is pre-renal? Are there anything else? So what would have been the role of urine spot sodium here. Yesterday we had a urine sodium hiding mass. What is the role of urine sodium in your diagnosis for the ATN? So if at all it is ATN which you are thinking of, then the urine sodium will be high, more than 40. But if it was reduced renal perfusion, this is a very important NEET MCQ instance. In NEET MCQ this is very important. More than 40 ATN and normal is 20 to 40 and less than 20 is reduced renal perfusion, pre-renal. Isn't it? So the urine sodium would have helped us recovery. So did you do the urine spot sodium before putting the patient on Lasix? Which you did not probably give the patient. You did not need to use Lasix because there was no oliguria. So you sent urine spot sodium, you didn't get the report, you sent it yesterday. Yesterday. What is the sodium value? What was the sodium value? Who is the intern here? What is the urine spot sodium? So the videographer is also the intern, same intern. So okay, you will have to find out what is the urine spot sodium.
Vital set admission.
Yeah, what was the vitals at admission? Normal, absolutely.
I mean number, respiratory rate.
Respiratory rate 22.
So there is nothing here suggestive of sepsis as far as I know.
Yes, there doesn't seem to be like a sepsis, more of a cold abscess.
But you know, leukocytosis 32%.
Leukocytosis is one.
Anaerobic, I don't think it's likely.
Okay.
The pretest probability is
Okay.
reduced.
So what is the probability for leukocytosis? I mean, what organism, what do you think is causing the leukocytosis?
Very likely Staphylococcus.
Yeah, so if staphylococcus is there, that means there is sepsis. The only thing is a localized sepsis to some extent. At the most it has gone into the leukocytosis. But beyond that it has not gone into tachypnea. A systemic inflammatory response syndrome has not yet happened. Like hypotension, tachypnea, tachycardia. Yeah, not like an SIRS. No hypotension, no tachycardia, no tachypnea. Yeah, before that only you have entered.
And also,
If you think it is some bacteria, so what if this is mycobacteria? What do you do if the pus is sterile? What do you do? If the pus comes sterile. Then you will think, what is the cause of a sterile pus? Can anybody tell me? Cause of a sterile pus? Which means nothing is growing. Sterile pyuria. NEET MCQ. Tuberculosis, number one. And other than that, yeah, fungal, chlamydia, anything which you cannot grow on regular culture media. Chlamydia, all those things. So what could it be here? If it comes to sterile, tuberculosis will be number one in our. Then what will you do next year? If it comes to sterile, what will you do? Of course, it can be even good antibiotic treatment before sending the pus, which I'm sure the RP did. I'm sure he gave him all the best possible antibiotics in the world. So that can also make it sterile. But what will be the next step to isolate tuberculosis here? Again send the pus for Cupinad, AFP. We could have sent it to AFP even this time. And what else? Any biopsy of the sinus tract? Why not? In fact, that is what Vamsi should have done last time. All the 8 systems are complaining. How could your department start anti-tubercular therapy without any microbiological diagnosis? We should have made some effort to take out the sinus tract and send it to them and see, look for granuloma or anything. That would have confirmed microbiology to a better extent. Now, what we did, we took MRIs here and there, showed the pus flowing here and there to the brain, and we based our assumption that it was flowing on that. But I think tissue. Yeah, you have got some good tissue here. Even when you are putting the biopsy, you would have taken out the biopsy. This is the easiest biopsy to do. Okay. So biopsy will help us here. We will look at what is infiltrating in that area. Are they neutrophils? Are they lymphocytes? Is it a granuloma? So that will help. So what next? What else will you do for it? Are you happy with whatever is the current status is improving? You are happy. Anything else you would like to do? Nothing?
there are already doses of antibiotics.
How many vancomycin has he received till now? How many are you planning to give? Are you going to de-escalate now? Now that he is improving.
Yes, start with
Once daily.
today is second day.
So this is a renal modified dose of vancomycin. Yes, in turn, how do you modify the dose of vancomycin renal dose modification? How do you do a dose modification? Yes, question goes to the first intern on the left. Yeah, the camera moves there. Yeah, face the camera. This is your attendance now. How do you do renal dose modification of any antibiotic? Going by the creatinine and the GFR, how do you see the GFR and then how do you modify the dose? Just what are the steps that you will take? This is telling a lot about what the physicians have been telling you. Obviously, they have not told you anything. Okay, the actual intern of this speech. Yeah, tell us how did you modify the, because this dose has been modified, the renal dose modification. So how did you modify it? This is the thing. Okay, come back here. Yeah. Quick. Okay, the goes to Sophia then. Yes.
Initially,
So what Sophia did not tell you, now she is going to tell you.
based on the body weight,
Body weight.
3 milligrams per kg.
Yeah, that is the usual dose.
Yeah,
So you give the stat dose usual anyway. Even if the kidney is gone for a 6, you give the first bolus dose. Isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. And then,
Then, based on the creat clearance, we have to.
yeah, how do you calculate the creat clearance? See, so many things she didn't tell you. You didn't ask also.
Then, I have a table, sir. Based on the creat clearance, this much amount is taken.
Yeah, so how do you calculate the creat clearance? That's what I'm asking. You know how to calculate the creat clearance? GFR? Just ask Google. Everything Google knows. So creatinine clearance, calculator. And Google will show a calculator. And it will ask for some values. So what values will you ask? It will ask for the serum creatinine. It will ask for the age. And
It's age, race.
race it will ask. Which you will write? What race? What are Indians? Black. You write them as black. Or is there something like black and white? Mixed. Nothing there. Either white or black. Only black and white. Whatever calculators are we have are all black and white TVs. No colored calculator. So yeah, you will enter black then.
Age, race, creatinine.
And once you enter that, then the Google will give you a magic number. That is the glomerular filtration rate. How will it calculate? It has got a formula. How did it derive the formula? That you will have to find out. 2 interns called Cockcroft and Gault. They got together, 2 interns, and they found out that we can calculate the GFR using this. This is called the eGFR formula. This is estimated GFR. You are not actually measuring the GFR, but based on other parameters, age, creatinine, you are getting a sketchy idea of the GFR. So how to get it? They invented the formula. Can you imagine those 2 interns? Just see what they did and what you are doing. Okay, so that formula, the thing will calculate. Other than Cockcroft and Gault, many other people have offered different formulas and it has been modified accordingly. So nowadays I think the MDRD equation is in vogue. Modified disease, renal, something.
Yeah, but it can't be used in AKI, sir.
Yeah, so what do you use then? Cockcroft Gault. Is it like that? But how does Google know which one to use? You are not telling AKI or CKD. You are just telling creatinine clearance calculator. Yeah, Rashi, you were trying to say something. Okay, so this is the part where we have to figure out, yeah, thanks to Aditya. How does Google know whether it's AKI or CKD and should we change it accordingly? And how does Aditya know that you have to give Cockcroft and Gault for AKI and for CKD you have to do MDRD? How did this thing, notion come into being? So we have to look into that. Okay, what else? So this is how you calculate creatinine clearance. And then, depending on creatinine clearance, in Google itself, there is a nomogram which she has got a chart. It's actually with Google or any other site there, where you can get, if this is the creatinine clearance, this is the dose modification. It's as simple as this, renal dose modification. So by looking at a nomogram, so already predefined that if this is the GFR, this is the amount of dose you give. So according to this GFR, which Sophia got, the dose was 500 milligram only once daily. Normally it is, for a normal GFR, it might be 3 times a day. But here it is once a day. Okay, and he was getting it. Now? Yeah, what was the question? Because of which we had some other discussion. Vancomycin, yes. Yeah, we were calculating the dose modification of vancomycin. So why did we arrive here? Okay, we did that and we have given it. Patient is recovering. Huh? Yeah, we were discussing. I don't know how we went into this really
He
here.
asked me how many doses of vancomycin.
How many doses have been given? He is worried about effect of vancomycin. So what will happen if you give non-modified dose of vancomycin? What will happen? What is the harm that can happen? See, so many things you have to think about your patient. You are the intern. You are the treating doctor of this patient. What would have happened if you have given the normal dose of vancomycin? What organs would have been involved? What new syndrome would have been created? What? Red man's. Oh, good. The MCQ. Red man syndrome. Red man syndrome, I'm not sure whether it will happen with increased dose of vancomycin. It can happen to any patient with a normal dose of vancomycin. It's probably is it an allergic reaction or is it a high dose reaction? Allergic kind of a reaction, according to Aditya, not me. Because we are on TV now. So, red man syndrome is a different thing. What else does aminoglycoside do? Toxicity. It will cause further toxicity to the kidney itself and ototoxicity. Okay, vancomycin is not an aminoglycoside. So will it cause anything like this?
It actually is known to aggravate AKS.
It can cause renal toxicity. Does it cause ototoxicity? Are you sure? Video pe kasam khao. I mean, you are on Prime TV. Anyway, I think we'll have to find out. Yeah, the very fact that it is called mycin doesn't mean that it is aminoglycoside. One, good point. The other thing is, does it behave like, at least in terms of side effects, toxicity? So, interns, these are your questions for the weekend. Hope somebody is taking them now. How does vancomycin, what is the vancomycin toxicity? Other than red man, what else does it do? Does it cause ototoxicity and this thing like streptomycin, nephrotoxicity? Okay.
Sir, in terms of system to thinking, there was a 2018 paper which said clindamycin is now the preference
Better drug. Clindamycin for what?
for skin and subcutaneous infection.
For anaerobic cover. Or is it for
targets
staph?
staph also.
Staph. Or gram negative.
It was compared with
No, is clindamycin an alternative for vancomycin or is it an alternative for anaerobic and
not an
gram negative?
alternative, sir. It is the primary. And
Okay. So
it was-
primarily, what is it going to target?
they compared it with augmentin. Amoxicillin clavulan.
So they did not compare it with vancomycin.
No,
So
sir.
if they compare-
compared it with augmentin for Staph aureus and Streptococcus pyogenes.
So if they compare it with augmentin, how will they know? Yeah, vancomycin.
Sorry?
Is it superior to vancomycin?
How will they know about vancomycin?
Exactly, sir. But do we need vancomycin in the first place?
Yeah, but for that you need to have trials comparing vancomycin versus
Because in the face of
augmentin versus clindamycin.
yes, sir, I get it. But in this patient, in the face of AKA or CKD,
Yeah, I agree. You could have given just augmentin. Why vancomycin ultimately?
we could have preferred
Only augmentin.
Possible, sir. I mean, I'm not contesting the decision.
Yeah.
It's ultimately.
Okay, how does augmentin help over ampicillin? What is there in augmentin other than ampicillin? Clavulanic.
No, sir. It's
Huh?
amoxicillin.
Clavulanic acid and amoxicillin and ampicillin is same thing. So how does it help to combine clavulanic with amoxicillin? What is it going to kill? Yeah, beta lactamase inhibitor. So who secretes the beta lactamase? Which bacterium? Is it staph? What are the beta lactamase producing bacteria? Are they produced by gram positive or gram negative? We need some microbiology people here. Badly. Good. So I think it gives you a better gram negative coverage. gram positive is the same ampicillin working there. So clavulanic acid adds only gram negative better coverage.
Gram positive PBP, penicillin binding.
Yeah, so and that is ampicillin.
Gram negative beta lactam.
Yeah, beta lactam. So it will only give you a better gram negative coverage by using clavulanic acid. It won't do anything to gram positive. So gram positive only ampicillin active in augmented. So would ampicillin would have been good enough for this patient? That is what Aditya is asking. Why now did we give only ampicillin along with other gram negative coverage? Or why did we give only ceftriaxone, which is also acting on gram positive and gram negative? So does ceftriaxone also need clavulanic acid? Yes. Nowadays all ceftriaxone that we are giving is with clavulanic acid, isn't it? What is that called? What is that called which we are giving? Ceftriaxone?
We are giving ceftriaxone, sir. Magnesium.
What is clavan?
Flavon is augmented.
Again augmented.
Sir, ceftriaxone is used sulbactam.
Cephalosporin sulbactam. Yeah. And basically a cephalosporin, which is gram negative and gram positive, we are combining again sulbactam there as a killer to the beta lactam to improve its gram negative efficiency. Isn't it? I mean, for now, till you can contest with other papers. Hopefully you will do that after the session. So we have raised some good questions here about abscess. Now about the mycobacteria, we need to have a biopsy and we are waiting for the first culture report. If it is negative, then we will go into the biopsy. That will be our plan. Alright, and probably this pus, if it is positive, then it all came from the needle of the injection. And following which some other bacteria also may have entered.
The patient came on the first day with HPV.
Oh, he is rapidly losing a lot of blood. So is it because we had made the incision and there was a lot of bleeding? There was not much of apparent bleeding, not much of macroscopic bleeding, but he seems to have lost a lot of blood from somewhere. Either, yeah, the pallor has increased from 8 to 5. So where is he losing the blood from? Is it because blood loss or something else can happen in 3 days to bring it down so fast?
How much fluid was given?
How much fluid was given? It's hemodilution causing anemia. By giving fluids, you can cause anemia, according to him.
Yes, sir. We can.
So from 8, somebody has got anemia of 8, we can give him fluids, maybe how much fluids, and then it will come down to 5. So he wants to know how much fluid was given. So bring down the hemoglobin from 8 to 5. You have video him. So 1.5 liters per day is required to bring down the hemoglobin. No? Don't agree. So how much is required? We don't know.
In hemorrhagic shock, that is the cause of anemia actually.
In hemorrhagic shock, the cause of anemia is hemodilution.
Yes, sir.
Because of fluid.
Because when there is exactly
Because of
with
fluid
blood
or
there is
loss of
plasma
blood?
loss also. With blood there is plasma loss also. So both of them fall in the same equal proportions.
Yeah,
So
but-
hemoglobin will remain the same. Once you start giving fluids, hemoglobin drops. Hemodilution occurs.
So that has to do with any kind of shock.
No, hemorrhagic shock.
Because we give physics
Some dilution is expected, but not 5.8. I think.
That's the confusion in the case. Yeah, that is what you're supposed to catch. So yeah, if you have produced confusion, that is the beginning of learning. So it's a very good question here. And he's suggesting that we can hemodilute the patient internally to bring down the hemoglobin.
In this case, it's unlikely, sir. But in hemorrhagic shock, that is pathogenesis of the
Well, this could be hemorrhagic, not shock, but hemorrhage, causing rapid fall of hemoglobin in 2 days from 8 to 5. That's what we're thinking anyway. What else can cause bring down the hemoglobin so fast? 2 months back, yeah, but then the hemoglobin would have been low to start with. Where is he losing that from? Per rectum. So maybe he's got a history of hemorrhoids and maybe he also bled from the rectum in the last 2 days. The last 2 days he
Usually he did not tell you. After he has come here, why did he tell you that he put a lot of blood in the pan? He has got something. Read it. So we have to revisit and ask him whether he has blood away. He is not causing blood away. So what is the hemoglobin? I mean, what is the peripheral looking like this time? When it is negative 5. So LCD is normal there. Yeah, that's what he's saying. Hematocrit. When he says the mass, RBC mass and plasma. That's a good. He's asking about the hematocrit. What is the previous hematocrit?
In sync with hemoglobin.
Yeah, so what is the hematocrit? Hematocrit. He's talking about hematocrit. Will the hematocrit increase? Definitely. If there is bleeding, it will reduce. So as Aditya said, yeah, receiving would not be very low, maybe. I mean, what she's saying is if you dilute, hemodilution causing the anemia, then the hemoglobin will come down, but hematocrit will remain the same.
No, hematocrit will drop.
That will also drop. Why? Because hematocrit is RBC.
It's RBC by total percentage, sir. That's it. You are increasing the plasma volume, the RBC concentration drops. So hematocrit.
Why should it also come down?
It should drop. Yeah. So more plasma, less RBC. PCB will drop.
No, he is saying when you are giving more fluid, the plasma part, the fluid component of the blood will increase, the plasma. And PCB is nothing but the RBC mass. So if the fluid increases, the RBC or mass automatically comes down. So PCB should also drop in going, hemoglobin.
Yeah.
The hemoglobin and PCB will go down together. But yes, these are good questions which have been raised and we need to, find out. Yeah, why should we raise a good question? We should find out and let us know the answer. More about PCV that is. Hematocrit, hemodilution. So we had a good session on hematology and infectious disease in this week. And we are hoping that we recover. And we need to see the culture and you will go on Monday and capture all the culture plates and whatever. Because by the time it's 4, they'll all leave. So Monday you will do that. How it has been done. I hope they are not throwing the culture plates right now. I mean, sometimes they do that. So we'll move to the thesis case then. Yes, you can put.